Hello there, welcome to the show. Today I'm going to be making for you a fabulous little recipe. You could either have this as a snack or you could have it as a light lunch. It really is quite delicious, and it's sort of a twist on French bread, except it's savoury as opposed to sweet. What we're going to be doing is we're going to be taking some Turkish bread and dipping that in egg and a little bit of milk and then frying that. So it's going to make it nice and soggy. It's just beautiful actually. And we're going to be spreading that with a ricotta and goat's cheese spread and putting some char-grilled vegetables on the top of it. This is a very, very delicious snack, and you can vary the amount of goat's cheese you use compared with ricotta depending on what type of flavour that you like. I think you'll really enjoy it. I got this recipe out of a Gourmet Traveller way back in the early 90s, and it really is quite scrumptious. Is probably the best way to describe it. So let's have a look at the ingredients and let me show you how to do it. Now for this recipe you'll need some tomatoes, baby eggplant that have been sliced into lengths and then quartered, fresh ricotta cheese, goat's cheese, an egg, some Turkish pide or Turkish bread, mint leaves, chopped chilies and some milk. Okay, let's begin by preparing our vegetables, which need to be roasted in the oven. So all I'm going to use is actually a cake tin because I'm only doing a small amount, and as you can see my baby eggplant I have sliced into quarters. I actually brush these with a little bit of lemon juice as well, because if you don't then they will go brown quite quickly. So just lay those out into the baking pan or into your cake tin. Your tomatoes, you can work with any tomatoes that you like. I'm just using baby Romas here because I like the flavour. They're also quite fleshy as opposed to being quite heavy with seeds, so you get a much more substantial tomato. What we're going to do here is sprinkle some chopped chilies, which I also prepared a little bit earlier. You can see how to do each of these individually by visiting blackbookcooking.com. Of course all of the recipes for all of the dishes we make and all of the skill and technique videos are all online as well. So sprinkle that with the chilies. Now I have a mixture here which I have already pre-roasted, and we've got cumin and coriander seeds. They were whole seeds and I roasted them. Again, you'll be able to see how to do that via the video on the website. And once I roasted them, I popped them into my mortar and pestle and I've chopped them and broken them up to release all of those flavours. So we're going to take some of those and we're going to sprinkle them over the top of these vegetables. And we're going to season with just a little bit of flaked salt as well. And don't forget a nice drizzle of a really good quality olive oil. Not too much, but enough for the flavour to permeate. Okay, into the oven, and they will take around about 20 minutes or so to cook. Okay, let's prepare the topping, which is ricotta, and we're using fresh ricotta. Now you can use ricotta out of a container, but I find it's just a little bit too runny. This, it has got a lot of substance and it will hold its shape much better. So we're going to put our ricotta into a bowl. On top of that I've got some goat's cheese. Now I'm actually using a marinated goat's cheese, and it's because it's my favourite. You can use whatever goat's cheese you like, but you'll find that if it's been marinated it really has quite a lovely flavour, and the oil that comes with it will also help to mix the two together. So you can do this in a food processor if you wish. I find it's just as easy to mix them in a bowl and use a fork to mash them together, so that you make sure you do actually mix that goat's cheese through, though it's not always that easy to see, as you can see here, both being exactly the same colour and almost the same consistency. But just mix the two and make sure that they are thoroughly combined. And once you've got part of that done, we're going to add then a little bit of flaked salt for flavour. I'm a bit of a salt fiend, so I do tend to put an extra amount in, and I do know exactly how much works, so it's a bit of a trial and error thing. This is always to taste, as is most seasoning with most dishes. So just mix that through, and once that's done, just set that aside. I'd pop it back into the fridge so that it keeps nice and fresh until you're ready to spread it onto the bread. Alright, let's do the bread now, and what we're going to do is break an egg into our bowl, and we're going to actually do egg and bread, like an egg and breadcrumb, but we're actually going to soak it. It's a little bit like French bread, I guess is probably the best way to describe it. So into our bowl, let me just grab another fork and just whisk that. We're going to add to that just a little bit of milk. Not too much, but enough to make it go a little further. You could actually use more eggs if you prefer. So it's like French toast. What we're going to do now is we're going to dip our bread into this, and then we're going to fry it. Okay, so taking each slice of bread, now what I've done is I've just taken some pea and I've cut it in half and trimmed it up so it's nice and even, and then I have cut off the lumpy bit on the end here, so I've got a little bit more of a flat piece, because if you've got too much of a rounded edge on it, when you go to fry it, the bit underneath here isn't going to fry. So try and get them as even as you possibly can in squares, and then just pop them in here and allow them to soak up that egg and milk mixture. And do the same with the other piece. Let it soak up as much as you possibly can. The more that's in there, the more flavour you're going to get, and the less dryness of the bread, which is what we're trying to achieve. So again, try not to make it too thick a slice as well. Use a thinnish slice. I've actually cut my slice completely in half. Alright, I'm just going to pop the other one back in there, and we'll go over to the pan and we'll get those cooked. Okay, so just a little bit about the goat's cheese. Now, I've actually used a marinated goat's cheese, but you can use any type of goat's cheese. I particularly like the marinated, I like the flavour, and there's a particular brand that I buy all of the time because of that reason. But whatever you use is totally up to you, and as I mentioned at the beginning of the show, you can vary the proportion of goat's cheese to ricotta depending on what flavour you like. If you're a really big lover of goat's cheese, then add more of that and less of the ricotta, or vice versa if it's the other way around. Okay, so over to our pan, let's turn that on and get it nice and high, nice and hot, and we're going to add again some more olive oil, a nice good quality olive oil, a little bit into the bottom of the pan, and just spread that around. You don't want to have too much, we don't want this to be too oily. Once that's nice and hot, place your bread in. As you can see now that pretty much all of that egg mixture has in fact been soaked up by my bread. And we're going to cook that on either side until it's browned and also cooked that egg and milk mixture. Okay, so once those are done, remove them and pop them on a little bit of paper towel just to absorb the excess oil, and heat off and back to the bench. What we're going to do now is we're going to put our bread, and I think we'll just start with one of these per plate. Take a little bit of the ricotta and goat's cheese and spread that fairly thickly over the top, and then some of our eggplant and our tomatoes on the top, and top those off with just a couple of mint leaves. And there you have a delicious little snack, very quick and easy to do, and certainly very filling. We'll see you next time, and thank you so much for watching the show today. Don't forget to come back to the website, blackbookcooking.com. You'll see all of the base recipe videos and skills and technique videos there. And of course, don't forget to like us on Facebook, connect with us on Twitter, and of course to subscribe to the channel. I'll see you again next week. Happy cooking. I'm Victoria.